glad that you're still watching KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya's The Viewpoint. We want to delve into today's topic, and it's about party politics and pre-election pacts. Given that now the ODM and UDA are in that phase in the gear up towards 2027 elections, and the big question from all this, and that is what I am going to start with, is it a matter of ideological convergence or political survival? To help me in this conversation in studio on my far left, I'm joined by Honorable Wilson Sossion, a former nominated MP. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Kabisa kabisa.
Yes, no complaint.
And also Wakili Wairimu Gathacha, karibu sana.
Asante.
And Happy New Year, because we are seeing each other for the first time this year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
To these very honorable gentlemen I share the panel with, and to all Kenyans.
Karibu sana. And Peter Mutua, who is a governance and leadership expert. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How are you doing this morning?
Very well.
Actually, I will start with you in this whole matter about these pre-election pacts. From your perspective, is it about convergence of ideas, ideological convergence, or it's a matter of political survival?
First of all, what guides the pre-election mergers or coalitions, it's based on ideologies. Along the line, as people move on, they may change or start moving away from their original agreement. But ideas ideally should be the reason why people come together. For survival, because I do not want to imagine it's just for survival, because if it were for survival, then we would have seen something like when 2002, you remember 2002 when NAC came into power, when the third president of the Republic of Kenya, the late Kibaki, was elected. There were a number of political parties that came together, and as a result, there was a win on their side. And it's from then that informed what kind or type of politics that moving forward that Kenyans were to do. You remember even in 2007, similar, though it was thereafter, that there was also between PNU, then ODM Kenya then, and the other small parties came together. And then you remember then in 2013, it was people remember just TNA, but there was under TNA there was UDM, where the current president was aligned to. Then they joined hands and they formed the government, and it kept on happening. And now it's happening today, when you see ODM and UDA start talking and agreeing that they need to come to a coalition so that they gain more chances of forming the next government. So basically it's supposed to be based on ideas. If it is not, then maybe along the way we'll decipher and see whether it was driven by other factors and not what we see on the surface. Yes.
Wakil, what do you think?
Mike, I think anytime we have two or more parties coming together, there is always something that they share in common, because they cannot come together when they are on divergent views. And history reminds us that most times it has been a strategic move so that they can, that is time bound, usually comes pre-election, sometimes mid, after governments have been formed. And ideally it is a convergence that we have seen, that one, there is shared ideologies, because to move together you must have something in common. Two, it is also strategic, because they also look at the electoral math so that they can deliver a win. But beyond that, there is also service delivery, which is what Kenyans want to see. We want to see a team that will come together, form government and deliver services, improve the livelihood of Kenyans, create job opportunities, and safeguard the rights and the freedoms of every Kenyan. Yes.
Of course. Mheshimiwa Sossion, you know, Kenya's political history has this has a plethora of, or you could say a pattern of coalitions. But from your perspective, what do you think, what factors make such arrangements inevitable within our political system?
In multi-party systems, in many democracies or jurisdictions, coalitions is not new. Coalitions is a common practice of political parties coming together to form government pre-election or post-election. You've seen in some jurisdictions, just right after election, you hear a given party has won the elections, but cannot form government unless you invite another party, because democracy requires majoritarian legitimacy. And to gain that legitimacy, you must have this kind of coalitions in an environment of many political parties. And if you look at it in Kenya, the patterns in Kenya, as it has been perfected very well, and it follows the fashion of those democracies, particularly in the global north. In 2002, there were many political parties that came together to form the National Alliance Rainbow Coalition. That was a group of political parties, and they produced one presidential candidate. But the objective at that time was to defeat Kanu and form government. And it was guided by a loose agreement that was not respected post-election. That led to the breakup. In 2007, the Orange Democratic Movement was not actually a political party as such. It was a coalition of the like-minded, those who wanted to see Kibaki regime out of State House. And it worked. Only that those results were never rightly declared, and they will never be rightly declared. That's a fact. And in 2013, there was Jubilee Coalition, which brought together the National Alliance Party, which was formed by Uhuru Kenyatta, together with United Republican Party of William Ruto, which was a breakaway from ODM. And there was, within 2013 also, there was court of Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Mudavadi, and the rest. That was a coalition. And the mathematics of winning the ballot is a coalition. I don't think we are going to have a political party that will go it alone in this country. In 2017, there was Jubilee actually fused to form the Jubilee Party. It ceased to be a coalition. It became a Jubilee Party. And to defend government of President Uhuru and William Ruto, together with other like-minded parties. But the NASA that coalesced around Raila Odinga brought together ODM, Ford Kenya, ANC, Wiper, and that is why the elections of 2013 and 2017 were so close, because the coalitions that were formed almost had equal numerical strength across the country. That's a fact. And in 2022, the Kenya Kwanza coalition that brought together the UDA, the largest party for that matter, together with ANC, together with Ford Kenya, and PA, Chap and others. And of course, it caused some attrition in a loose super coalition that had come up called Azimio. The Azimio suffered some attrition and lost elections eventually. Azimio was not a political party. It was a coalition that was patronized by the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and it lost elections. But then very narrowly, if you look at the numbers, very narrow, very close. So the politics of elections of Kenya as a superpower democracy within the region will still be guided by coalitions forming. And post-election, we have seen in Kenya the formation of the broad-based government. It is not a coalition. It is broad-based, expanded by the president and invited the like-minded people from other political parties. Because we have also accepted in running government, you don't need to close out people. You need to bring as many people on board as possible. And that alone, the broad-based government philosophy and arrangement has endeared to many in the political shades where their leaders were invited to the broad-based. And that informs a fact that everybody knows, even those who are new in Jerusalem, that ODM and UDA the only thing that stands between themselves is a clear agreement on the table as a pre-election, and it will happen. So it's common fact that we'll have a strong coalition of ODM and Kenya Kwanza. Let me not say UDA. Let me not say UDA. Let me say ODM and Kenya Kwanza. But it will begin, the frontier will be between UDA and ODM. And we have seen the effect of this in the by-elections. All the 7 parliamentary seats were swept by that coalition. And the genetic coding of the two sides is that their manifestos are completely similar. The philosophies are the same. The aspirations are the same. These are socio-democratic parties, and it is easy for them to come together. It's easy for supporters to agree, and it is easy for them to form a structured coalition. So as we head to 2027, already naturally a coalition is in place. But when you look at the other side of the coin, the opposition team, and they call themselves United Opposition, but we see them fighting left, right, and center. So that is another form of coalition. It's another form of coalition being attempted. And whether it is going to be a formidable coalition, that is a story for another day.
All right.
Going by the performance in the past election, it is extremely weak, and a lot needs to be worked on.
That is a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But then again, Peter, given that now we've established that, does it mean that it's cast on stone that our political ecosystem will never allow, quote unquote, a single party to go it alone?
It's not cast on the stone. You see, politics is zigzag, and I'm a student of zigzag politics. You know, you need to know when to take a corner and not when to take a corner. And again, politics is life, and life is seasonal. This is what I'm trying to say. You do not live yearly, you live per season. You see, for example, people who love the Bible, in Genesis 22 verse 2, Abraham is told to go and sacrifice the son. But as he moves to sacrifice the son, when it comes to verse 11, another voice comes, do not. So we are opening our ears to hear as per the season. This season could be coalitions, and then next season could be one party. So basically it's not cast on stone, and things change according to seasons. So we are open for people like us who believe in zigzag politics. We are open to know when to turn and not when to turn.
Does it apply when we have those coalitions? Usually when they get into power, they want to go it like 2 terms. But then again, towards the end of the first term, cracks start showing, what really happens?
Mainly, it starts showing when the pre-election, pacts were not based on serious agreements. It was like they were doing that because they were in a hurry or there was no full disclosure. And again, there's something that you cannot legislate, no matter how many pre-election pacts you form and how strong they are. You cannot legislate ambitions. Remember, when you are bringing in a political party, no matter how small it, for example, we have ODM now, they're in discussion, it's everywhere. In fact, it's flashed all over the newspapers that there is discussions between ODM and UDA. What we are not able to legislate or control, it is ambitions of key stakeholders or key players of both sides of the political divide. We are not able to, for example, should UDA and ODM settle and form a pact, and then from ODM side they produce a running mate that is produced by ODM to a candidate of UDA as a presidential candidate on the UDA side, that does not stop the ODM candidate from hampering ambitions of becoming the leader. So what happens is that the outside voices, for example, when they form like Kenya Kwanza, when it formed the government, the outside voices of Azimio that lost, they started feeling that you are not well able. And then it came a point that the former deputy president was impeached. Then creating cracks and possibilities of disagreement. Then it invited outside enemies to start criticizing. And then basically what you need to understand, it is very difficult to measure the ambitions of the people you are joining coalition with. And once you join coalition with them, you see, power is sweet. Power is sweet. And you only start feeling the sweetness and the privileges of power. And you are number two. You are likely to grow horns and start thinking you can be better than you are number one. That's the problem.
But then again, there's also the aspect of parties' interest and people's interest. And there's something that, Wakili, I want you to comment on. How, if these coalitions are to achieve something, when you look at people's interests and the party's interest, where's the balance?
I think I tend to agree a lot with what Honorable Mutuku says, because whenever the convergence is weak, whenever the ideologies are weak, the convergence will be very, very fragile. So such convergence, such pacts, such coalitions will not go far. And like he mentions, politics is very seasonal. In his words, he talks of zigzag routes. It's true. Right now, we have key players. For instance, we have the coalition which power is centralized within it, which is the Kenya Kwanza. UDA is the anchor party. And the kind of bargaining power it has is different from another strategic player like ODM, who also enjoys a very different power play right now, because they are shifting from the traditional opposition position now to negotiating to be in the winning team, if we can speculate early enough. We have another team like the Jubilee, where they are going through seasons of redefining themselves before they agree if they're aligning with the government of the day or if they're in the opposition. Then we have other players where it's maybe smaller parties, like others that we won't really go into mentioning, where they're mostly putting their voice in the public frustration, but they don't appear still to have found their right footing. They're trying to find their way into merging and making coalitions that will stand the test of time. So looking at what each and every team brings and how we can define them now, if they do not have ideologies and accept the positions that they have right now, when they form coalitions, whether they win or they don't, post-election, we might see the cracks. Because if you're the anchor party, there's the bargaining that you're doing come post-election. If, for instance, there's another party that's boosting the anchor party, and it wants to negotiate for more than that after elections, then the cracks are definitely inevitable. They will definitely happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then, Honorable Sossion, based on what Wakili has said, then what institutional or constitutional safeguards should guide pre-election agreements or talks so that in as much as they are achieving that goal, there's protection of democratic competition?
It's really not protection of democratic competition, but protection of the people's rights. Because where agreements are not respected and the philosophies of the coalition underpinning the philosophy, the coalition are not respected, then it's the people who lose. Take, for example, in 2002, where Kenyans were voted as the most optimistic in the world, we elected a president who was sick, who was in a wheelchair, was not even conscious of what is happening. But we elected him with a super majority, 66%. But by 2005, that coalition was in shambles. Why? Because of the MOU. The MOU was not respected by Kibaki. Kibaki thrashed the MOU. And that MOU went with the principle of matters that were agreed. And I think the Political Parties Act has cured all this because it has guided legally on how to enter into pre-elections agreement and how to enter post-election agreement. So it has been legislated. I think the political ecosystem has got enough legal instruments to guide these coalitions when they are formed and guide them in how they work. Take, for example, the broad-based government, ODM and UDA. The party leaders of ODM and UDA signed a 10-point memorandum of understanding on which is going to guide the two parties within the broad-based arrangement, what to do, how to, and what to deal with, while at the same time inviting their members to government. I think, to me, that is a very sensible way of doing things. It makes it brings equality on the table. It brings it sets the minimum threshold of recognition of partners, so that you are not partners in paper, but when it comes to government operations, you are excluded. Exclusion. And I think the issue of exclusion has generally been dealt with by the Constitution of Kenya, that no region, no people should be excluded. And if you look at the philosophy of leadership of President William Ruto, for example, is trying to bring in a culture of total inclusion of everybody in the country in terms of running of government, in terms of development. You cannot exclude any region. Even if they didn't vote for you, it is a right to be included both in development and even in governance. And that also is ingrained in the mind of the leader who is in authority and who is in charge of those particular groups. So I think generally we already have a legislated environment, and not just a legislated environment. We now have practiced culture that leaders have practiced. You know, once you are in leadership and you are in coalition, you must bring everyone on board. And you don't just bring people on board in a coalition for the sake as window dressing. They must be active participants in the governance processes of that coalition. And that is what people should understand as you prepare for any possible coalition. And the rights of people, if the objective is to remove somebody in office and to win power, and that becomes the philosophy of a coalition, that coalition is not going to last a day. And we have learned it in this country. So any coalition must have a cogent agenda for the people. And those agenda must be incubated from the membership. It must originate from the membership. And I think very progressive parties, what they've done in Kenya, if you look at ODM, for example, in the traditional basis,
Yes.
they conduct elections, they conduct consultative meetings with the leaders when decisions are being made. UDA, the same thing. You can see they are conducting grassroots elections, having delegates, allowing the people to participate. So parties that are clever and those who would want to maintain public trust and popular support will take their parties back to the people. The policies of a political party will form the policies of the government once a government is formed, and if they participate in forming a coalition. So what will be considered most will be the policies that are contained within the party itself. So political parties are key, not just for getting power. The policies that underpin it, the philosophies that underpin it, are very, very, very vital. Because within those policies, within those manifestos, within those agenda is contained the rights of the people. And then how do you become a social democratic party if you don't speak to the rights, social rights of people, economic rights of people? And if you look, for example, Kenya Kwanza Coalition, it developed five key pillars for implementation. That of promoting and protecting agriculture, and a lot of agenda within. Why agriculture? Because Kenyans are basically small-scale farmers. That is where they earn their income. So there's a lot of investment in that area, and it becomes a policy of the party. MSME, because small-scale business people, Mama Mboga and the rest, and it became a key issue that this is a space that must be supported. Look at the Nyota program. It's targeting small-scale youth business people, and it is becoming a big thing. It's an attraction, and you've seen the president rolling out and issuing of funds to entrepreneurs in that space.
Right.
Look at the ICT infrastructure, for example, because all of us are on ICT and we can do business using ICT. Housing is a big target. It has been rolled out. It's one of the most successful pillars of Kenya Kwanza administration. We have seen people moving from slums to decent housing. And it is not the political leaders of the party who are moving to the houses. It is the people. So the party belongs to the people. The party is the people, actually. It should not be the leadership. You can see universal health care. People who are sick are walking to facilities. They are being treated. Issues to do with education, the party is prosecuting very seriously and very thoroughly, because those are social rights of people. And you can see the general agenda of approaching the infrastructure and getting people, lifting people out of poverty. So when a party addresses such issues and people feel it, then people own the party. They own the agenda.
All right.
And people will support an institution that speaks to their basic needs, particularly social rights. And when you talk of social rights here, these are basically things to do with health, things to do with education, things to do with housing, and so forth and so forth. If a party speaks to that, then the rights of the people are protected. So coalitions are not just coalitions when you don't explain to people what you are going to do.
All right.
If you don't explain, then it becomes a coalition of only grabbing power.
Wakili,
Yeah.
Wakili, we've established that coalitions do present a political strategy to parties, but are they legally binding to members and party leaders?
Yes, they're very much so legally binding because the Constitution of Kenya of 2010 envisioned these coalitions. And coalition agreements are agreements like any other that we draw every day. And once a coalition agreement has been signed, it is deposited with the registrar of the political parties. So it is very much binding to the letter.
Yes.
And that is where we see now there is the constitutional and the institutional framework that protects these agreements that have been reduced to writing. So at the end of the day also, we see that they are not just serving the interest of the players that are signing, they are serving the interest of the Kenyans, because for a political party to be registered, it must have the signatures of the Kenyans. So it is a political party that is supposed to serve the interest of the Kenyans. So it is very much so binding.
All right.
But as like every other agreement, they can be amended. Yes.
With time.
They can always be amended. Yeah.
All right. Peter, you know, we've seen what is happening with the ODM, even given that they are in talks with the UDA. And, you know, there are those who are against the idea and those who are not for their, who are for the idea. But if a party is having problems, how do they affect its national positioning and even its bargaining power in such an arrangement?
Well, first of all, let's agree that political parties are not spouses to one or the other. To the extent that ODM, when was in agreement with Wiper and other parties in Azimio, including Jubilee,
yes,
it was good. But when it decides to join another group of parties or party, it is bad. What I said, political parties are not supposed to one or the other. So when ODM decides to leave other parties in Azimio and starts talks with UDA, the basis of our argument should not be ODM is wrong by doing this, because one of the political parties also in, or another political party in Azimio, maybe they were of the same thoughts, but then ODM moved with speed and started discussing. As to a political party that is as big as ODM, that there are squabbles, internal squabbles, and then they have decided to start talks with the ODA. When we have internal issues, we also have internal mechanism of doing them. And that does not mean because we are quarreling as a family, we should not make progress. We will not say that because now that we have been disagreeing on to which type of crop we are going to plant this season, we wait the season to pass as we are, then we will plant next season after we have agreed. No, we are going to plant and we continue discussing until we get to the bottom line of our discussion, which is agreeing that we are going to move forward. And these small disagreements that you are seeing, they are published all over newspapers, on the social media. They are small in the sense that the party or the party leader of ODM is the final person. Any other members speaking this way and that doesn't matter. And you know, there's something that is called sibling rivalry. Even probably in ODM, after the exiting of party leader Baba, probably there were people who felt that they were supposed to be either party leaders, or they felt that Baba was protecting the current Secretary General, and therefore they need to dislodge the current Secretary General. So they are looking for ways of making noise here and there. But bottom line, ODM and UDA, maybe they are going to join hands, agree. So what should happen is that the people who have been left in the Azimio, they should not be bothering or wasting time on whether ODM or UDA they are going to agree. In fact, if I were them, I'd be extremely happy because a vacuum, position has been created. And because power abhors vacuum,
yes.
You should now move in and fill that vacuum. Today, if I, for example, I was a party leader of Wiper, I'll be moving around this country and the world as the official opposition leader because ODM was number one in terms of the strength.
Yes.
Then in the absence of ODM in Azimio, automatically Wiper is the second largest. Then I would be moving around the world and everywhere as the official opposition leader. And by that, I'll be gaining mileage and preparing, and then I grow to the point that I'll start now. I'm now preparing to take over the government because I've been the official opposition leader. And while I've been the official opposition leader, this is the problems or the messes that we have been able to pick from the sitting government that they have not been doing this way, and this is the way we are going to do it.
So you're influencing public opinion, perception about.
First of all, sorry to tell this, and I will tell it because people are listening to us. Politics is number one point of winning politics is perception. First of all, you must create perception that you have won before elections are held. If you are not created perception that you have won, it will be too hard for you to win the real election. So perception is very key in politics.
Very important.
Yeah, because people need to perceive you as the conqueror. People need to perceive you as the solution they have been waiting for. And in any arrangement, there is this term that's called worth alternative. You must be a worth alternative to the existing. And for you to raise to that point, you must grow yourself. Handle yourself like a worth alternative. Yes.
Indeed. There's the issue of either this pact strengthening or eroding public trust in political parties and electoral competition. That is one of the issues that we shall be looking at once we come back from this short break. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. We're watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. This is The Viewpoint. Now, we are talking about party politics and pre-election pacts. And in the course of this conversation, there's something I need us to address. When you look at now the talks that are happening between UDA and ODM, and this I'm going to throw to Mheshimiwa Sossion. Are they when you look at those coalition pacts, pre-election pacts, do they strengthen or erode public trust, especially when it comes to political parties and electoral competition?
I think the main basis, and I think it's what has come up in this conversation, rights of the people in all these activities. Any engagement, does it codify the social and economic rights of the people? Those are the hard questions we must ask ourselves. Or does it preserve the interest of the leaders? Those are the questions we must ask. And in political parties that are organically democratic, where you allow people to discuss issues and you conceive policies that are good, the rights of the people will be protected. But in political parties where the party leader is everything and does not allow democracy within the party, that is even a party that loses members and it ends up remaining with one individual. When you see a party that is so popular, then it means the leader promotes democratic practices internally within the party. Like ODM, we have seen ODM over the years. The democratic thinking of people has been so divergent, and people wait for it to break, and it has never broken. At the end of the day, you see there is a consensus. You know, institutions does not mean people think the same. No, we don't. People think in, there's a lot of divergent thinking, but there are mechanisms within the organs of the party that will stabilize and arrive at agreements. And those agreements and those positions should be pro-people. So political institutions or political parties that have got internal democratic practices will always incubate and conceive policies that are pro-people. And I think by and large, for me, I believe political parties are democratic vehicles. They are instruments of the people. They are not owned by individuals. They are institutions. And if we look, for example, because it's good to use examples, the Democratic Party in the US and the Republican Party, they exist not because of people who lead them. They exist because of the philosophies they believe in. If you look at Democratic Party, over the years, they've had different leaders, they've presented presidential candidates, they've had presidents in the White House, and there is always a tilt or a turnover to the Republicans to do the same, and Republicans are very conservative in their beliefs. And so Americans resonate between the two political parties, and not because of anything, but the beliefs and the policies and that underpins the party, and the policies of the day that you propose that I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and all those policies are flowing from the structure and philosophies of the party. So I think as Kenya now, even when you look at the coalitions that are being formed, they should outlive individuals.
But do they?
For example, ODM. Let's look at ODM. People believed ODM was because of a person called Raila Odinga. But if you look at the structures of the party and everything, the person of Raila Odinga had allowed the institution to be an institution. You know, the architecture of political parties or institutions, you set it in a way that they can operate beyond your life as a leader and as a person. And I think a case example, a learning case in this country is how ODM navigates its political activities going forward. And you have seen, the new party leader has said, we are commencing negotiations with UDA ahead of 2027 election.
Yes.
What does that tell you? It means they are decided. And we've seen the members of parliament supporting that decision and pronouncement by the party leader. So the party leader has proposed what is popular with the party itself. And the members of parliament have supported because they have a parliamentary group. And of course, they already have members in the broad-based. So they're not beginning from zero. They're only advancing the interest of their members ahead of elections in 2027. Okay. So that then by 2027, they will be able to tell their members, based on our negotiations and engagements, with UDA and by large Kenya Kwanza. These are the key issues we have agreed on, which are beneficial to our members and our supporters and the country, and therefore let us vote a joint presidential nominee of that coalition, of which right now I can't say who is a joint presidential nominee, but it is common knowledge it will be President William Ruto. And you can see in the same breath, the UDA party has convinced an NEC to ratify and commence negotiations with ODM. And now, this commencement of negotiations is not about the leaders. It is about what members believe in. So the members of UDA, they know ahead of 2027, we are going to negotiate with that other team. They will come with their suggestions. They will come with their interest. And ODM also, the membership, they know our party is going to negotiate with UDA. And there will be give and take. And there will be a joint manifesto. It will result in a joint manifesto, joint policies that codify the interest, the benefits, the social and economic rights of the members of all the parties within their coalition. It is not an easy process to work. It's very technical.
Yes.
It must be meticulous. It must be legal, and it must speak to the benefits of members.
All right.
So that then, when people are voting, they are voting from an informed basis.
All right.
They are not
Wakili,
just voting because of ethnic reasons or otherwise.
Wakili,
they will be voting
yes,
based on issues. So these coalitions, and of course I can tell you from where I sit, the coalition of UDA and ODM is one that is heavily driven by issues. It is an issue-based arrangement that benefits the people and that nobody can run away with. Even those who try to define within the UDA or ODM will lack reason to bolt out.
Wakili, I want you to get your sentiments on this, especially when it comes to perception. How do you think the voters, and especially the younger generation, now perceive such elite talks to enter into a pre-election pact, case in point, ODM, UDA?
Generally, considering the season that we are in right now, every other person is very alert, and we are looking at every sentiment, every engagement having an election undertone. There are of course some young people who feel that it will be okay while we are making these pre-election pacts to see some fresh faces also included in the decision-making table. That way it will inspire some more confidence. Maybe see some more fresh faces, younger faces forming part of those coalition, women being involved, which has been happening now for some time. But I would also want to speak to the conduct of the politicians towards this time. In as much as we are looking so much at alignments and realignments, yes, we also want to focus on the higher calling that we have to ensure that the people that are the political elite class, also we get to examine them to see their capacity to actually deliver and their capacity to bring development to the Kenyans. It is important that it's an exercise that it's inclusive of the entire country, it's inclusive of even the young people. So I am hopeful that we are going to see a process that is going to be more inclusive, so that we can, it's a process that also gains public trust. Yes.
I'll ask the last question, and I'll take that as your closing remarks for all of you. From your own perspective, Peter, what direction do you see Kenya taking, or your assessment of the political landscape as at now and the direction it will take?
That is a very good question, and this is my opinion. And in fact, I've written it down.
Yes.
That UDA, ODM, I'm minusing other political parties in the Kenya Kwanza, because, like for example, we do not have ANC any longer. We have NC joint UDA. So any other party that is under Kenya Kwanza that has not joined UDA, I would wish they move with speed and join UDA so that they become part of UDA. Because once ODM and UDA unite, this is what is likely to happen, that UDA is going to produce the president.
Okay.
ODM is going to produce, I'm going to say it here, a prime minister. And then a running mate or deputy president may be picked from the so-called united opposition.
All right.
Let me finish. You can't be telling me to talk, then you are just stopping me now.
We're out of time.
No, we have a lot of time. Yeah.
No, I'm told we are out of time.
Yeah, okay, let me then finish then.
Yes.
Because anywhere, anybody who has a standpoint stands more chance of being picked than anybody who is neutral, who has not announced this or that.
Okay.
So this notion of people thinking that UDA and ODM are going to produce both the presidential candidate and the running mate, far from that. A running mate is going to be picked from the other side of the people who are out there saying they are united opposition.
All right. 30 seconds. Closing remarks.
My closing remarks. Mike, this is a very critical period for Kenyans, the pre-election period. So mine will be essentially to advocate for peace, because we cannot ignore that there is very high political mobilization. If this should strictly be done within limits that promote peace, there should be very deliberate efforts by the political class to set good examples. Maybe it's about time we really put our feet down on the question of these leaders addressing us from the pulpit.
Okay.
We saw what happened last Sunday. It is very unfortunate.
Right.
Let us avoid divisive talks that throw the country into tension, but rather a united country, so that we can push our country forward.
All right.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, 20 seconds.
So the most sober and the most powerful political coalition is in the offing between ODM and Kenya Kwanza, led by UDA, and is a departure from the culture of the past, where mobilization and coalitions has been formed on ethnic alliance. This is going to be the most inclusive political coalition ahead of 2027, driven by issues, but not new issues. The issues that exist, the pillars of strengthening the delivery and quality of education, strengthening the growth of the agricultural sector, strengthening the delivery of housing, health, and the rest. And its presidential candidate will remain President William Ruto.
I'm very confident.
And the president will continue driving the agenda of total inclusivity and economic justice for all the people of Kenya.
Thank you.
And in that way, I think that is how we'll get to the first world.
Thank you.
Once we mobilize the country politically around the social and economic rights of the people.
Always a pleasure to have you on board. Always a pleasure to have you on board, Mheshimiwa Sossion, who is a former nominated MP, and Wakili Wairimu Gathacha, who is another advocate of the High Court, and Peter Mutua, who is a governance and leadership expert. This conversation ends now, but do not go too far. Vivian Ndegwa is up next to steer you with the next segment. My name is Migwi. Stay with us.